All right, we are live. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Journey to Bliss. I am Miss Bliss, and we have here our guest this evening, Catherine Davis. And as many of you know, okay, hold on. We got like a echo or something. Hold on. All right. Do you still hear that echo? Is it like echoing?
I don't hear it.
Okay, cool. That's cool. I was trying to get on the other program. All right, here we go. So now we're good to go. Yes, here we go. All right, so we're going to do our advertisement for the brother Shaka. Shout out to Shaka for the t-shirt. Yay! And I'm going to do a short one of my tea.
Such a long time.
Woo! I love that song. So, as many of you know or may not know, I just got off of a telethon. And so the telethon started at 11 a.m. this morning, and it will continue all the way through to tomorrow, Saturday. And so I spoke about psychedelics and Tantra in connection to relationships and love and healing the community. So I posted the link to be able to go and view anything in regards to that telethon. It should be posted on YouTube. Hopefully I did it right, and hopefully you guys can get on, because they have many great speakers. It's a lot of good information, and the telethon will continue on all the way until tomorrow morning. So telethons along. The benefits are you get a lot of information. So there you go. So check it out. It's posted on YouTube, and hopefully we'll get the live telethon video, because if you don't go on now, then you may miss the if they don't drop the recording later on. So if they drop the recording, then I'll share with you guys. If they don't, then you could have missed out on some great information. So hopefully you did not. So as you know, we spoke about the ego, narcissist. And so how could we talk about those two things without even talking about an empath, right? So those are the entities that we're dealing with right now, and the energies. And I want to say, to start with, when we're talking about an empath, a lot of people struggle with being an empath. Oh, hey, Brad. Thank you, Ms. Bliss, for looking so sexy. You're welcome, Brad. Grateful. So I want to say that it's easier to flow with the tide. It's easier to go along and get along and be with the go along, get along gang, and to watch and observe wrongdoings and things that are going on that you know within your heart and your spirit is not right. So what I'm finding that in my studies and my research is that a lot of the empaths, they go against this tide. They advocate for change. They know that in observing this chaos, that there's no peace in chaos. And so a lot of us who entertain this chaos and in this crazy environment, they don't necessarily want to see change, and they resist change. So some people oppose change. They're not comfortable when they see things, about to change. And so they just let these things go along, and however it affects them, it's just easier to just exist on the same realm and the same energy around the same people. Even if it's toxic, it's just easier to just deal with that as opposed to do the work and to embrace the change. So empaths, a lot of them, what I notice is that they will rival against these wrongdoings, even if the wrongdoings are to them, but they also recognize wrongdoings that are to other people. And so they become sometimes these warriors, these fighters, and they're usually not many of them. It's usually more of the big ego people, the big narcissists, or those followers who follow all of them. And it's like maybe a few empaths who are like, wait, what are we doing here? This is wrong, and they advocate for change. So it's usually more against that one empath, because it's just so much more easier to go with the flow, even if that flow is wrong. So I just wanted to start with that, because a lot of people are like, well, why do we have to advocate for change? Why can't we all just go along with the get along? And the empath, something within them is waking up or conjuring up, and I guess they just can't really endure it. They can't, they can't spirit it. They can't stomach it. So have you noticed that, Catherine?
I have. And I think we can think of the empath as having the characteristics that are missing from the narcissist. Like the narcissist doesn't have that ability to feel what other people are feeling, or to be able to have care and want to care about someone else. So the empath has a tendency to be able to understand what someone else might be going through, even if it's not what the individual is going through. They can feel it, they can sympathize with what the person is experiencing, and will want to take some kind of steps towards helping that situation. So the empath, I believe, tends to be not like the person in the front of the crowd making all the noise. The empath is the one who's sort of moving through the crowd, perhaps, and noticing how people are reacting to the noise. And so I think that that's very true. I think empaths tend to be quieter, maybe a little bit more subdued, less desirous of the limelight, though not entirely so. It's just not doing it the way a gregarious person would do it. It's almost like the empath is whispering and people lean in closer to hear what they're saying. So it has its own power. It's just very different than the narcissistic personality. And empaths can have a full spectrum. You can be healthy or unhealthy. It's not like the perfect way to be. It's just another way of being in the world, as I understand it.
Yes. And it's like they're like that, and most of them, they just keep going. They don't really give up when they see the injustice and the evil and the hate or the mischief amongst people. And it's an interesting observation and comparison. And also, I want to say shout out to Brother Rich on Black Magic. Catherine and I spoke about narcissistic personalities about 2 weeks ago. And prior to that, we spoke about the ego. So it's all in alignment. It's all in connection. And then I want to say shout out to Brother Rich on Black Magic, because I just found out that he too has spoken about the narcissistic personality. And I want to say that every single melanated channel, I repeat, every single melanated channel should be talking about these personalities, because it helps you to understand and understand what you are, what you're going through, why you're going through it, and how to deal with these challenges. So shout out to Brother Rich on Black Magic. I believe he spoke about narcissists or narcissism last night.
Yeah, I think it was about narcissism in spirituality, spiritual leaders who are actually also narcissistic.
Ooh, and spiritual, yeah. You have some spiritual leaders who are narcissistic. I don't really know if that's a good combination, but I guess we'll let spirit decide, because what I
Mhm.
did notice is that you have a lot of empaths who are spiritual. And so the empaths who are spiritual, I noticed that when they were with a narcissist, the narcissist was blocking their abilities, blocking their spirituality, trying to block their gifts. So, and if you're dealing with two spiritual people, or spirits, I'm not sure if a narcissist and an empath are a good match, because we're all here to do our jobs or experience a journey, to help and assist one another. But if you have someone who's such a powerful, strong, narcissistic personality who's blocking more than one empath, I can't imagine that that would be dynamically healthy, other than to encourage the empath to move on and start their journey on their own. And in that
Mhm.
aspect, I'd say, yeah, it's healthy.
Yeah, the outcome can be healthy. But yeah, you're right. And I think that what happens, like, there's a dynamic where the narcissistic personality can, in a manner of speaking, feed on the narcissist. I mean, on the empath.
Yes.
Because the empath comes into the situation wanting to be a helper, they see the potential, and they want to be able to contribute positively, but and might not think, might be looking for a true partnership, but it doesn't usually work out because you are not able to compete with a person who has that really big narcissistic personality, and you would always be relegated to the background.
Right.
And then you might be doing a lot of the work, you might be creating a lot of um, productivity, you may be doing a lot, but you'll never get credit for it. So it's probably something to be mindful of. And the same is true in personal relationships, because the narcissist will see the empath as someone who could tolerate them, and they can probably more than most people can, to be more understanding, is, oh well, he probably had trouble as a child, he probably's been abused, he's probably giving him excuses.
Yes.
So it may be a good match for the narcissist, but rarely a good match for the empath.
I repeat, a narcissist, whether it's spiritual or whether it's reality or whether it's your husband or your job, is not necessarily a good quality, healthy, I repeat, healthy relationship for you if you are an empath. If you're an empath and you're on your journey and you're here to do a job, your purpose, that's an absolutely horrible relationship, because the narcissist is going to block you. And what narcissists do is they convince other people to go along with blocking you. I can't imagine that being anything and to do with anything healthy. And so you'll rarely find two narcissists working together unless both of those narcissists think they're powerful and they don't have to really tolerate each other so much. But for them to be able to work in the same environment every day, you won't really see that. You won't really see two narcissists working together every day for the good of the people. Because remember, a narcissist is only interested in whatever's going to help them. So you could see a narcissist, for example, running one platform over here and another platform over here, and they may talk once or twice a week, but they're not working together every single day because they can't tolerate each other. Their egos are too big. They both believe, oh, we're so powerful. But you know what I did notice? You could have multiple empaths working together. Now, isn't that interesting? How could you have, and I'm seeing now 4 or 5 empaths coming together, working together for the good of the community. I haven't yet to seeing two narcissists work together every day where they come together for the community because they can't tolerate each other. It's just an unhealthy relationship. overall. You don't want to be around anyone who's belittling you, talking down to you. And even if it is spiritual, then it's probably meant to activate something within you to get up off your ass and get from around that environment. And anyone who's encouraging you to entertain or be in that environment is someone who's truly and genuinely not interested in you healing. And so I noticed that the empaths, a lot of people were saying that they're unbreakable, they're unstoppable. And in my research, I found this is because they've had so much teachings in life in regards to all the trauma and all the drama and all the scars and all the wounds that they have that have taught them lessons. And those lessons have shaped them into being the person that they are. And they've learned to master the art of recovery. They've mastered the art of basically beating the odds, moving forward, being strong, being powerful, dealing with people who are bullying them, manipulating them, and people who are narcissistic. So this is healing and learning how to become strong mentally and emotionally and psychologically, and just saying, you know what? I don't need, all of these narcissists around me because it's unhealthy. I can be around other empaths who are generally loving, nurturing people who truly want to produce something that's good towards a community. Who wants to be around someone who's not interested in genuinely healing anyone or leading anyone? Someone who, let's say, if you're R. Kelly is a narcissist. So spiritually, how would you say R. Kelly helped our community or helped those little girls that he touched? How do you say that? How do you fit that in to say that the 6-year-olds or the 7-year-olds that he touched, that was meant to be, or that was okay? I think I actually heard Oprah say this a couple of years ago, and it was a long time ago. I think maybe 10 or 15 years ago. And the community was like, what? Like, how is that? When she was saying about children who were molested, that they brought it on themselves. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, she said that. So that's like saying, people who are around a narcissist, you need to be around that narcissist. You need to be entertaining that narcissist, or maybe that you brought that narcissist on yourself. You have options. You do not have to be around someone who's treating you horribly, someone who's actually damaging your chakras, damaging you emotionally, physically, mentally, and psychologically. You have options. And I don't believe that that's healthy at all. So narcissists have been through a lot. And in that aspect, it actually makes them stronger. It makes them resilient. It makes them more powerful. It makes them unstoppable, and it makes them unbreakable.
Well, I think that probably the empath is more resilient, but these relationships can be very damaging, and then you have to recover from it, find a way to recover from it. And my sense is that the empath starts out as a introverted person by nature. Someone is just going to be more quiet, more introverted, kind of looking at what's going on around them, and then by observation is going to learn a lot more about people. And an empath has a tendency to be more intuitive because you're kind of looking for the signs, you're paying attention to what's going on, and because you're introverted as an empath, you're more inclined to pay attention to your gut feeling or pay attention to what your heart is saying. So something might look flashy out as you're looking at it, but on the inside, we will. I think a lot of people have these traits, but the empath has a tendency to know, well, something is up. Might not know what it is, but something's not right about this situation. So there's a special capacity, I think, but the downside also is that you absorb more as an empath. So a lot of people can be in a toxic environment and just brush it off their shoulder. An empath is not going to be able to do that. They're going to feel it more on the inside. And if they're exposed to a toxic environment for a long time, an empath is likely to get stressed out and get sick. So there are ways that a person who considers themselves to be empathetic, that they have to be more mindful of their relationships, their workspaces, and their environment overall, because it doesn't bounce off naturally. We tend to absorb it.
Yes, 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 absolutely. I want to say there was a person who called me last week. This particular person did not know what a narcissist was until they watched the show. So they were educated. So they were around this being who is a narcissist. This particular person who called me did not know why they were experiencing so much stress, so much sadness, so much anxiety, so much fear around this narcissist that was overpowering them. So once they found that out, now they're trying to deviate from that energy. Under no circumstances is that considered healthy in any society, in any realm, in any dimension anywhere is that considered healthy. So in this process, they began to tame the energies and know how to work it. But there was an incident where things got heated up. And what's so funny is the heating up was all around them, but it did not involve them. So they were in a situation where there was a lot of arguing, because that's what the narcissists do. They're very argumentative. They have this bullying energy, this controlling energy. And so the person who called me is always dealing with this particular narcissist. But on this instance, they didn't have to. But what they did was they witnessed this narcissist bullying and beating down on another person. And so at that point, when you're on the outside looking in, you're like, oh my goodness, is this what I have been going through? Because it's one thing for you to be in the realm of that energy of the narcissist. It's another thing to sit back and watch them in action on another person who is trying to defend themselves against this type of personality. And that person didn't know that they were dealing with a narcissist, because you see, the person who called me just learned themselves. So now they see the dynamics of actually what's going on. And when they went home, do you know this person was not even involved in the argument or the bullying? They were observing, but when they got home, they felt sick. They felt weak. They felt drained. And I said, well, you weren't the person involved in the arguing or the bullying. You was just an observer. But because they are an empath, so here's the other dynamic. They knew that other individual was a narcissist, but they did not know that they were an empath. So if you're an empath, you don't have to be the one experiencing the trauma and the drama. You could be the one sitting back and observing it, and you'll take all that energy on you. And this person went home and they were exhausted. They were drained. They had other things that they were supposed to do. And it was an unusual weakness that they experienced. And I wanted to express that when you're on the other side, like how you can take these energies.
It's true. And truth be told, since this same person was also engaging in this toxic activity with your friend, the scene might have been for the purpose of quelling your friend. So in a situation like this, the overblown narcissist will abuse someone in the presence of their target, so that you become more afraid.
Oh, wow.
So it still may have been about her. And also, this is what happens to the people around you as the empath or as the target. The narcissist will control other people around them in this way so that those people are afraid. And anytime they need someone to bully you, they can call on any of those people. And that's how they become, that symbiotic relationship happens. And so it's a situation you just want to get out as quickly as you can, because otherwise you begin to you sort of have to fight for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the empath in many ways is like that anyway, which might be the attraction. So if, as an empathic person, you feel you might not have the kind of self-esteem, because our society is such, the bigger and the badder is the best,
Mm-hmm.
and you're shy, and you might think, well, maybe this means I'm inadequate in some way. So the empath will be attracted to the narcissist because in the beginning, this looks like somebody who could protect them and can help them and can uplift them. And the way it works is the narcissist starts out doing something called love bombing. So they treat you really nice and they compliment you and they make you feel good until you're off guard, and then things start to deteriorate. So there's kind of a natural attraction from both ends. So people who are empathic have to be much more careful about who they end up engaging with, because if you don't take the time, you might be with someone that's going to be a problem later on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Cynthia. Good evening, Cynthia. Good evening. So Cynthia wrote, I felt that in the situation before. I got into a slight depression. Took me a couple of days to get out of it. It was that strong. You have to protect your energy. So I want to point out the fact that it got you into a slight depression. Now imagine a person who's with a narcissist who couldn't get out. And so that slight depression goes into full-blown suicide. How is this advertised or promoted as healthy on any level? Whether it's spiritual or, psychedelic or tantra, however you want to fit it in, how is that healthy? Because this could be your child thinking about committing suicide, right? Am I correct? This could be your brother or your sister who's being bullied or manipulated. So when it's your family, how do you feel? I bet you don't feel this way. Oh, the story would be different if it was your family member or yourself. It would be an all-out war. So I want to encourage people to recognize when someone is being authentic and operating with a certain level of integrity, because we already have enough suicides out here in our society. Do we need more suicides in our society? Because at one point when we have, hey, what's up, James? What's up, James? How you doing? When we have more suicides in our community, and we find out that a lot of those suicides is because they was going to work dealing with a narcissist and they didn't know how to deal with that narcissist, let alone they didn't even know it was a narcissist. So at what point do we hold ourselves accountable to truly and genuinely assisting our community and working from the heart space with love? Because when you love people and you love your people and you love the people who look like you want to provide information and guidance so that they know how to dive through this realm so that they could survive, so that they could learn to fight the next fight, the good fight. So depression.
Yeah, and it can get quite bad also, because stress and depression lead to dis-ease. You might start having problems with one of your organs, or all kinds of things can happen if you're in that situation for too long. And I believe that what the empath has to do is turn that empathy in on themselves and not be willing to sacrifice themselves to somebody else's benefit. I'd have to say, well, wait a minute, this situation is hurting me. I need to step back from it and not think that I can save this person or not think I can change this person. And because I find that what happens with people who have these empathetic tendencies is they stay in these situations far too long. And you can really get ground up in it. So we have to be able to, all of us really, empath or not, to prioritize that love and care for ourselves and be willing to stand up for ourselves. The empath tends to stand up for other people, but that can only go so far if you're not standing up for your own well-being and your own health. So that really has to come first. And even though you might not recognize a situation, and a person may or may not be a narcissist, could be something else. But the idea is to, like, this isn't working for me and I need to move in a different direction. Like you said, we can't allow that to happen, because what you could end up losing a lot of time. You might know what your mission is. You might know what your calling is. And you get drawn into saving this person who's not healthy. And by the time you get back to your own flow, you could lose months or years and then trying to pick it up again. So it's really important to recognize and honor yourself when you experience that kind of situation.
Yes, yes.
And just be willing to be different, be willing to be different. Like you said, you don't have to go along with the crowd. You don't have to change yourself to be gregarious if you're not. Just find your own strength and who you are, and that's really the best path, I think, because you'll be guided to where you need to be.
Yes, I agree. I got 1000%. Be yourself, be who you are. Do not allow these energies or these entities or these demonic beings or whatever's going on with them to intimidate you to be the go along, the get along gang. Because, everybody was talking about Cat Williams and how he spoke against this group of comedians who were sort of the go along, get along gang. So when you look at that dynamic, everybody's rah, rah, ray, hooray, Cat Williams. He's speaking up against the industry and he's speaking up against these particular beings or people who are doing wrong things, right? So I want to present to you the idea that why is it okay to pat Cat Williams on the back for speaking up against what he sees wrongdoings, but it's not okay for you to do it when you see it going on in your own community. When you see wrongdoings going on in your own community, you're not patting the person on the back who's standing up and saying, look, this doesn't make any sense. This is inaccurate. Where people are becoming suicidal. Do you know that the level of depression amongst Black men is higher than it's ever been? But no one's speaking about it, right? Because then that would mean you would have to be empathic. You would have to be compassionate. You would have to be more nurturing and loving towards these other beings who we call men. And it's the same thing with women. If you walk down the street and you see a man or men molesting a woman or beating a woman, and you say, oh, she must have brought it on herself. Oh, the spirit put those abuses on her. Or that spirituality where she's attracted those abuses to her, but you have the audacity to pull out your phone and record it. To what level of narcissism are we ourselves also entertaining and saying it's okay for these people to continue to damage and to harm our community on a level that is unbelievably, tremendously breaking us down as a people to the point where you could see 10 or 20 years from now how we're going to be, or will we even exist? And at what point do you begin to care? Will you say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Let me put two and two together. Let me contemplate this. Let me analyze this and see if this information that you're putting out is accurate. Let me take this and put it in my own life and observe, oh, is this a narcissist? Is this an empath? And so if you have a narcissist, if you have an empath, but you have another person here who you're not really sure if they're a narcissist or an empath, but they're entertaining the idea that it's okay to be like this. What role is everyone playing, and how does it affect you, your husband, your wife, your children, your mother, your father, your cousins, your uncles, your neighbors? What dynamics is at play here? When prior to this, no one was willing to talk about it. No one was willing to address it. So I think it's important to realize that empaths, they go through a lot, and it could be many levels of abuse and different types of abuse, because I mean, we could talk about, we could do a whole show about the levels of abuse, right? So they go through a lot of abuse. They go through a lot of trials and tribulations. At times they may have a setback, but it's just a stepping stone to resilience for these people, because the learning lessons are making them stronger. The setback is an opportunity for a comeback. They rise from adversity and they embrace the challenge. Most of them, once they learn who they are and they learn the environment, they start to rise to the occasion and embrace the challenge. Everything that you may consider a defeat to them is fueling their unstoppable comeback. They ain't going nowhere once they realize what their power is. See, the thing is that the narcissist is powerful on a certain level, because in reality, the narcissist is a coward. They're a coward. And that's why they manipulate and they get other people to do what they need to do. And that's why they want to bully people. But they are truly and genuinely cowards, because when a narcissist is up against someone who's, let's say, for example, you're dealing with a man who's a narcissist who happens to be in power. And let's say there's another man who's not a narcissist and may not even be an empath, but they don't tolerate the bullshit either. And they put that narcissist in place. Guess what? You won't have a problem with that narcissist anymore, because they are cowards and they are bullies. It's like when they're children and you see that bully running around bullying, and the first person that whips that bully's ass, you don't have no problem with them. And all those people following that bully, they're not following that bully anymore, because they see truly that bully was a coward. So all it does with the empath is they're determined to succeed and to make it. And what do you?
I think it's wonderful. But also, you said something really interesting about depression in men. And I think part of the problem is that our society has put these narcissistic personalities up on a stage, on a pillar, and regard them as success and as a model for how you should be. And so we have young women coming along being attracted to that because they think, oh, that's a real man. And when you have, so it creates kind of a tragic attraction for that reason. But also those men, and by and large, most men are not narcissists. Most guys are regular guys, or they may very well be empaths. But they also have a tough time competing with the big personality of a narcissist. And so, younger women will look at the man who's just an upstanding dude, right? And think ill of him because he's not boisterous. He's not giving the show. And so, and I think probably those men who are empathic struggle even more than the person that's in the middle, because they're experiencing life in a way that has a lot of sensitivity. And while a woman being sensitive, that's looked on positively. but a man being sensitive is looked on negatively. So they're kind of getting it from a lot of angles that um, no one is really no one is really respecting them, and no one is giving them their due. So I would suggest that women who are seeking those relationships is to look away from the narcissist and look at the man who's sensitive, who's empathic, because that's going to be the one that has your back.
Yes.
That's going to be the person that will uplift you.
Yep.
That's going to be the person that's going to support you and your family and your children. So I think that in some ways, women can, if they can open up their spectrum of understanding, there would be less problems because they would recognize the true gem that is in these men who are more empathic, in my opinion.
I think you're absolutely right. And the reason I say that is because I recently did a video about a man where two women was practicing witchcraft on him. They were doing spell work on him. And now that I think about it, he's an empath. This man had in fact, he probably could have used something of an ego booster. Everyone has a little bit of narcissism in them, but it's just the levels of narcissism that is the problem. This is why I can never entertain the idea of telling anyone on any level that narcissism is healthy or it's designed to be here this way, because what's happening is that we didn't have this many narcissisms 50 years ago. I'm talking about in our community, in the Black community. We did not have this level of narcissism in our community where, like you said, these women are attracted to these people who are simply personalities. A lot of these actors, actresses, singers, athletes, I'm going to even say YouTubers, when they come on here, this is all a personality. When you go behind the back scenes, you see who the true character is. So what these young people and everybody in society who sees you on the screen, they're attracted to the personality that has been created. And know that this particular personality was designed simply to accommodate you and please you because they're all acting. And so if they're acting, you have to use discernment within yourself. You have to be genuine and say, do their morals and values align with me? And is this healthy for me? Is this good for me? Like, I can listen to a couple of those songs that might be good for me, but should you be listening to all of those songs? On what level are those songs going to be helping you in any way, in any dynamic? It's the same thing. Should you be watching all of those YouTube videos? Depending on what they're saying and what they're projecting to you, is it for you? A video about Tantra or a video about psychedelics, is that for you? Is that something that you want to even entertain or look into or learn? We have to learn how to sit back and be more like, okay, they're dropping this information. Let me entertain it in my life, but also let me go back and do my due diligence and do my research and do the comparables. And so look at what's going on with you and society. Now, if you look at society and now you know what a narcissist is, do you think having more narcissists in our community, and I'm going to be upfront with you, looking at how fucked up our community is and knowing now what a narcissist is, do you think it's healthy to have more of those type of individuals? Or would it be healthier to have strong, powerful, loving, nurturing individuals who, yes, they stand up and they fight for what's right and they defend their community, but they're not so fucked up that they want to block everyone else from doing the same thing because they want to be the one in power. But what are they doing? Are they protecting you in any way or any form? Is this healthy for us? Because this is where we're headed. Shout out to Shaka. Peace and blessings, Shaka. Sending you love and prosperity. Greetings, greetings, greetings. And we're not gonna do nothing but get more.
Oh, Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic. Buenas noches. It's the evening in Dominican Republic. Buenas noches. ¿Cómo estás usted?
Exactly. And I wanted to sort of come on what you just said. One of the things that happens when you're like, even if you're not close to the narcissistic personality, you could be on YouTube, you could be in a class, you could be in a workshop. But the thing is that one of the telltale signs, and this is especially true for the empath, is that the person who is delivering the information is trying to supplant your wisdom and put their knowledge in. That, well, I know the real truth, so I'm the one, you need to follow what I'm doing because I know what's going on, and then you start to give up yourself, taking on this other information. It may be good information, but it's not your information. And that's why when you said do the research, because you have to decide for yourself. But I would say there's always going to be a point, usually early on, where you're going to get a little twinge. It's like, this doesn't seem right. And then you sit with it, but you have to realize that you're being programmed by someone that's trying to get you to change your vantage point on something, whatever it might be. So, and with the empath, because the empath is so sensitive, it can go a lot deeper.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It can go a lot deeper if you don't catch it before you realize that there's something wrong. So it isn't always the information that's wrong, and that's how you get got. The information can be right, stand up, real information, but it's the delivery. It's the anger it comes with. And this is what I learned from Brother Richard's show, that what's happening is that you have to be conscious of the way in which the information is being delivered. And does it erase you in favor of whomever is making the delivery? Does it make you feel good? Does it make you feel bad? Does it make you feel scared? So I think as an empath, it's really, really important to take your special powers and use them to your benefit. Because you, as an empath, you'll be able to know that a particular tone is not right. And everybody else is all excited and listening, but you'll hear something in the back of your mind, like, that didn't resonate right. And everyone else is excited, so you're thinking, well, maybe I'm wrong. But we can't do that to ourselves, and empaths have to be particularly careful of that.
Right. You know what's so funny? I want to mention about the delivery and how you receive it. So with that said, if you have a narcissist watching, the delivery would be offensive to them, because a lot of times, sometimes I'll say the narcissists don't know they're narcissists, but then you have a lot of times when you start to communicate the definitions of a narcissist, the dynamics of narcissism, they know who they are, they become offended. And they think, wait a minute, the delivery is what? Listen to me. I'm right. And whatever I say, I'm the God. And so don't listen to anyone else. Don't observe. Don't do your research. God forbid you do your due diligence in your research. So the delivery to the narcissist is not going to be good. They're not going to embrace it. So I think that's very interesting. While the delivery to the empath may be triggering, right? And it could bring back some trauma, but it could also activate something within them intellectually to be like, wait a minute, like you said, something ain't right here. Let me look some more into this and place it into my life. But the narcissist won't do that. If the narcissist see the video, they're gonna be like, fuck that. That ain't, I know what I'm doing. I know what I need to do. Nobody has to listen to that. And I'm not a narcissist, is what they would say. That's very interesting. So what I noticed was that a lot of times the empaths at some point they isolate themselves, and they isolate themselves because it seems like they need to at some point detox the negative energy, attend to some type of self-care, take a step back, pull back their energy, and maybe even set boundaries of like distancing themselves from the situation or the dynamics or whatever is at play that's affecting them. And so they're making themselves a priority, and they need to reconnect with their own emotions and reconnect with their own selves. And I noticed that while the empath is pulling back because they realize something's wrong, so they're pulling back and they kind of go quiet within. And I noticed that a lot of times a narcissist becomes more and more angry, and they could be like, oh, they're selfish, oh, they're a punk because they're running away from the fight. Or they'll start, if they can get to the empath, they'll start arguing with them and bullying them and gaslighting them. So this is why sometimes the empath may even go to the extent of blocking phone numbers, blocking emails, blocking this narcissist any way that they can while they go into a place of healing from within themselves. Because how are you supposed to heal yourself when you got these beings over you beating all over you with their negative energy and their craziness and come and do this and go, I need that, you need to do it. How are you supposed to even focus and heal yourself? So I found that a lot of these empaths who are discovering what a narcissist is and that they're empaths, they're going within. They're backing off and they're getting rid of the negative energy. And the guy who I told you was in that, he's an empath, but he wasn't dealing with the narcissist, but he was there and they were all arguing and acting a fool. He was forced when he went home, because he was like, oh, I'm going to go do this today, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do it. After that event, he was forced to go home and take a bath, a spiritual bath, and cleanse himself and be with himself. He had no choice. Mm-hmm. He was so weak.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense, and it's necessary. And that's actually one of the superpowers that the empath has, the capacity to go in and self-heal and to be able to evaluate things and be able to say, well, wait a minute, and understand what they might not understand it in the moment, but after they go inward, they're like, there's something definitely wrong here and I need to change. And you can start figuring out what the course of action might be. And just like you said, everyone has a little bit of a narcissist. Everyone has a bit of an empath on some level. And so in understanding how to deal with these things, it works for everybody. You don't have to be an empath to take a step back, do a spiritual cleanse, and reevaluate the path forward. And truthfully, I don't understand narcissism completely in terms of why they exist, but I do understand that on an energetic level, it's a lot like dealing with a vampire. And the reason you're so weak after dealing with a person like that is because they're actually being nourished by your life energy. So their energy goes up, your energy goes down. And I think this is why people like to perform. Not that there's anything wrong with it. If you're in front of a crowd and people are clapping and you've got 10,000 people, there's some good feels in that, I'm sure. But it's a cooperative relationship. The people are enjoying the music, whatever it is, they're reciprocating with clapping, but energy is felt. And when you're in a situation where it isn't voluntary, you're not offering appreciation, then that person is like drawing from you. And it doesn't always end when the situation ends. So you could be moving away and that person energetically will still be tied to you. So you have to take that cleansing, that spiritual bath, that, releasing the cords to that person, or they will continue to draw upon your energy over time. So there really is a healing process that needs to take place energetically if you find yourself, anyone finds themselves in that situation. I think the power of the empath is that you're going to figure it out much faster than somebody who's not so empathic.
Yes.
You won't, you'll just be in a confusion, and you might be so totally have lost a sense of self that you can't get it back so easily. And what happens when that occurs is that because you have no sense of self, even if that narcissist throws you out of their life, you're going to look for somebody else who can give you that. So
Mhm.
it's kind of an unholy alliance that people develop again and again and again throughout their lives. So if anyone who finds themselves in that kind of situation should take steps to really heal themselves in fundamental ways.
Mhm. Yes, healing is definitely um, something that is required, as opposed to allowing it to happen into thinking that I can deal with this or I can deal with this person. Because remember, the narcissist, it could be the empath, but the narcissists have all these other parties that they can get involved to kind of engage in that bullying. Because remember, you always have that bully who has multiple people who want to bully another person. It's the same dynamic with the narcissist. So before you even entertain going to battle, go within, go to battle within, and fight those demons within, so that you can learn to build and strengthen your own self. Train your mind to be stronger than your feelings, sort of like, because empaths are generally very emotional people. They're very empathic. They have a lot of empathy, and they're more nurturing and caring, as opposed to what a narcissist would be. So setting those boundaries and preparing for those emotional storms and those triggers, those emotional triggers and those emotional challenges. And one thing I want to say is that once you decide to leave the narcissist, or you get away from the narcissist, or if you escape the whole dynamics of that situation, and you start to consider, because the energy is still attached to you, going back, don't expect an apology, because more than likely they're not going to apologize, depending on how big this narcissist believe that they are, or how powerful that they think they are. Don't even fight for closure. Forget about an explanation from the narcissist about why they did what they did, or why they are the way that they are, because genuinely a lot of them are old enough to know what they did and why they did it. So those are becoming now excuses, and they'll just look for another victim after that. So you don't need to chase for an answer. It doesn't matter if they understand or overstand where it's coming from. What matters is that you do the work on yourself. You do the work within you to heal. Because once you start pulling your energy away, sometimes, depending on how powerful that narcissist is, they could feel the energy leaving them, because they've been feeding off of you like a vampire. And so they may even go crazy with getting your attention. And in this instance, remember, you've pulled back your energy and you're focusing on yourself, but they're going crazy because they can't get to you. So they want to get a reaction from you. So they will do anything, and they will even send people at you just to get a reaction from you. But what you got to do is stay focused on yourself, and focus on your own healing and what you need to do. Let the narcissist do what they're gonna. They're gonna gossip. They're gonna bully. They're gonna try to text you, call you, and da 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 da, whatever. Even when you leave the job, and if you're in the same industry, you might hear some, travel through the grapevines of people saying, this narcissist saying some crazy things about you. But you have to do the work. You have to believe in yourself. You have to go into the power, because empaths are very, very powerful. And I feel like a lot of these empaths are going to be activated spiritually this year, especially the ones who got rid of those narcissists.
That's so true, so true. And I was just going to say that the 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 thing is that we need to start recognizing empaths and all people alike who are seeking to be healthy and to evolve themselves spiritually. That we just pull back from that. Don't put yourself in that situation, and begin to understand that how to cultivate your own power and cultivate your own gifts and cultivate your own calling into the world, and understand that what you're doing is something different. You're not trying to be compete with those people. You're not trying to, or uh, it's not advisable to try to get their attention, like their attention is going to bestow something on you special. It doesn't. And like you said, you can come together with people who are nurturing, whether they're a deep empath or moderate empath, but you get together with people who are nurturing, then together you can build that community. And as we begin to encourage that capacity, we're going to see more of it in the children. We're going to see more of actual community coming together, because there are people who are truly caring about the outcome and not doing it for the sake of their own aggrandizement. And I think we have to start recognizing this. And as we build more empathetic community, we'll go much further, as a people, once we understand. You can understand the hurts because we've all experienced it, but we don't want to dwell on that, and let's just uplift each other. And as we uplift each other, then we can make some true progress, I believe.
Ashe, aho, aha. Exactly. I agree. And I want to say that sometimes we can get sort of used to or addicted to escaping reality around us. And so sometimes those ways of escaping could go into alcoholism or addiction for gambling, or because we may be afraid of addressing the situation. So you're fearful of, if this narcissist is at your job and you need to communicate, and you're like, well, if I say something, I'm gonna lose my job. So most of us will go and find something else, like alcohol, sex addiction, gambling addiction. You might even go home and be abusive to your lover, or better yet, abusive to your children. How about that? And then thus, who knows what they'll grow up to be, because you haven't learned how to face these situations, face your problems, address the issues, and basically just handle your business. So no battle was ever won by someone who's running, so you have to be prepared to do the shadow work moving forward. James, what did you say? Hold on. I want to get this little. So James said, going within to balance yourself. Why do you do shit that you do and think the way that you do?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Why do we do it? Why, and people are not willing to go in, because that is part of shadow work. And shadow work, guys, shadow work is not easy. It's not easy, because you could be a fucked up person. You could be like one of the worst narcissists on this earth. You think they're going to go in and do that shadow work? Because then they have to really reflect and realize who they are, what they are, how they're damaging themselves, and how they've damaged other people. It's easy to just be like, it's their problem. It's not mine. It's not me. So you as an empath, or maybe even as a narcissist, I guess, who's, you got to be willing to heal and do the work. And don't be afraid. If you're an empath, don't be afraid to say no to the narcissist. Prioritize your mental health and be brave, be fearless. Don't blame yourself, but reflect on what role you played in become sort of like analytical regarding the situation moving forward, so you'll know how to deal with it if you run into this personality, this entity again. So taking time to for yourself and to heal yourself and for your growth, and then learn to become disciplined and focused on yourself. So I want to say in terms of mental health, I noticed on the jobs, they don't give you a mental health day. But I remember my coworkers, when some of my coworkers used to work with a narcissist, they were like, they would call out, and I would say, oh, are you feeling better? You were sick or whatever. And it was like, no, I needed a mental health day. So, and I thought that was interesting because the jobs don't give you a mental health day. You know, you need a mental health day where you pull your energy back and focus on yourself to heal yourself. So meditation, yoga, whatever entails you or encourages you to be healthier, like mentally and emotionally, because it's all about your emotions and getting your emotions in balance too. So I don't encourage you, like Catherine said, to even play the game with the narcissist, because chances are, and in the majority of the time, the narcissists are bigger than you, and they have other people who also in power, and they all may be trying to gang up on you. So don't even try to play this game with the narcissist, because the whole relationship with the narcissist is based on you reacting. So it doesn't even make sense for you to react, put your energy into responding to them so that they could trigger you. And then when you react, they're going to say the way you reacted is the cause of the problem. And it's this whole dynamics that creates just a terrible situation. So don't entertain it.
And if you get trapped into it, get out as soon as you can.
Yeah.
Because it's very hard to detect in the beginning, I think, for some people.
Yeah, it's absolutely hard because you don't know you're getting into it, because they wait until they draw you in. But they create these bad situations in order to get you to react and to respond. And the goal is always to get you to react or to respond, so that when you do react and you do respond, they want to say that you're crazy, you're emotional, you're defensive, you got trauma, you're dramatic, you got drama. And so once this is done, then they feel that they have you. They have you somewhere. They've got you where they want you. And so they begin to twist the narrative to make you seem like you're the problem, or make you feel like you're the one who's, causing all the trauma. So I say, don't react. Don't play the game. Don't get involved. Work on yourself. Go within. Do your healing. Start your journey. Do the work. Do the shadow work. And if you could avoid being triggered by them, then by all means, avoid being triggered by them. I don't see that as, anything bad, anything wrong with that. Because they're going to say all these bad things about you. Oh, you quit the job, or you got another job, or you filed for divorce, or you're not friends anymore. Let them say whatever they're going to say, as long as you're okay. Be interested in healing yourself, because like I said, we're headed to a society where there's going to be more and more narcissists. And so you could say Donald Trump is a narcissist. You could say R. Kelly was a narcissist. Okay, those are popular, famous people. But it's a whole nother thing to know that the narcissist is right there in your neighborhood, right there in your community, right there in your household, right there at your job. And then you raise children who could be narcissists. So how does this make us look in the future as a society? People wonder why Black people struggle with coming together. What role does a narcissist play with keeping the Black people divided? Right? We have to look at that. Mm-hmm. Sometimes no response is the best response when dealing with crazy. Exactly. Just be like, you know what? Be meditating in the morning, doing your sounds, and your little hand mantras or whatever they are, and healing. And just, I've seen some people who stay around a narcissist, but they more or less try to avoid allowing the narcissist to trigger them, which means that they're on a whole nother level. They're on a whole nother frequency, because not many people, I think, I don't know, you can ask Catherine, I don't see many people being able to do that, because the narcissist, the whole relationship dynamic is off of triggering you. So if they're constantly trying to trigger you, you don't feel like you're going to explode, you good. You real good.
I think it's very possible to do that, but there's a cost to your own health and well-being. And I think what happens very often is that there's an initial dynamic where you go into a relationship or a job expecting certain things, expecting to get something out of it, or some kind of partnership where you feel like it's going somewhere. And usually you'll be well entrenched in that before the narcissist begins to turn on you. And so then you have to face your, like, well, can I afford to actually give up my job? Can I afford to actually leave my wife and kids? So it becomes more, the cost gets higher the further along it goes. But the important thing to understand is that the only way for it to get better is to end it. You can't fix a narcissistic situation because they have a different kind of brain chemistry or brain functioning. And what happens is the narcissist doesn't really see you as a separate person. So they're usually formed because they never, as children, separated from one or the other of their parents. And so what happens is that they don't know how to separate other individuals. They think that you are just something that's part of them. And they get frustrated because you're not doing what they want you to do because they don't believe you have any independence from them. So it's really a mental illness there. It can get evil, but there is also a mental illness there. And you cease to be a person and you become an object, like a thought in their mind. And they feel like you can have a scenario in your mind where you're daydreaming. They feel like you should be saying in the world what they're thinking. And if you don't, they don't know how to handle it. And they try to crush you so that whatever you do, you have to reflect back to them whatever they believe. So it's a very complicated dynamic that can't be healed outside of a therapeutic situation. You can't heal that kind of error. And even on the other side of it, with the empath, there gets to be a level where because there's a low threshold of ego and there's a lower threshold of self-confidence, in the encounter, you can entirely lose yourself and can become a shell. So there's a real danger there. And I think that people overall, we need to stop looking for affirmation from people outside of ourselves, which is what the empath does. I want to be affirmed. And the narcissist is like, you don't exist except that you're a figment of my imagination. That's like a relationship made in hell. So as for the empaths, the idea is to just, even if, just understand that you are a sacred being and you deserve to be nurtured and cared for. It's unfortunate, we don't have people doing that for us necessarily. We do it for ourselves, but that's where the real strength comes. That's where the resilience comes. By saying, no, actually, I'm going to do what's right for me from here on out. And anyone who is going to take away from that doesn't need to be in my life experience. You want people in your life, but you want people where there can be some mutual sharing and understanding. Mm-hmm. And so the empath might not get the limelight in the same way as the narcissist, but not necessarily so. It's just that you need to understand that that's a particular, let's say all narcissists lived in Kansas. I'm just as an example.
Right.
So move to Kentucky. You just don't play that game and make your own world, because we're manifesting our lives. We're manifesting our experience, our future. We have to be really mindful of what we truly want and the life we truly want to live. And if you're not being loved and honored, then don't participate.
Exactly.
On any level.
Exactly. I repeat, if you are not being loved and honored, don't participate. Don't get involved. Definitely don't stay. Get a plan to get away. Amos says, this may be another show, but what you say when some people have spirits with a grip on their spirit. This I noticed with young gangsters, and they themselves say something had a hold on them.
Yeah, that may be another show, but it's a very real thing. It
It
can
is a
really
very real
happen.
thing.
It can
Yeah.
really happen. And there needs to be, maybe we could do a show on how to counter, that spiritual warfare. It's spiritual warfare is what it is.
Yeah,
And
it is.
as you feel yourself losing yourself in one of these situations, your soul is being siphoned away. So we really do have to learn to protect ourselves, or to engage in that warfare to be able to win it. And mostly it's because we don't know it's happening that we get so enmeshed. It's not difficult to get out of it, but you do need to take responsibility from time to time.
Right.
It's like the schoolyard with the bully. Somebody finally pops him in the nose.
Yep.
That it's kind of like that, but on a spiritual level, to reclaim your soul, reclaim your spirit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because people who are doing this to you are not really powerful. They just have a different way of being, but it doesn't make them more powerful. Actually, if you're being attacked, you're the powerful one.
Yep.
You're the one with the energy.
Yep.
You're the one with the light. So understand that you are the powerful one, and that you can counter it. You can learn to counter it.
Yes. You know what someone said to me? Someone said, when you have maybe the narcissist who's in all this power and they have to get all these other people to go up against this one person, that's when you know you're powerful. That's when you know you are the light that shines, and they can't stand to see it because it's blinding them, because they want to stay in the darkness. So,
well, not only that, I think it makes them it reminds them of how messed up they are. When they see the light and they look inside and realize that theirs is so diminished, then it becomes so painful to them. Oh, I have no light. I have no soul energy. I have no love in me in that level. And they have to extinguish your light because it becomes so painful to them to see you.
yeah.
So some of it is, I don't think it's all under control, but it's a pattern of behavior that is just really, really dangerous. And there are different levels of it that lead to, some of it can be very slight, and somebody can just be, okay, you're obnoxious with your ego, not that big a deal.
Right.
But then people can be pathological and dangerous. So you have to be mindful.
It's levels to this game, y'all. It's levels to this game. This is why I encourage people to support someone who you may recognize or you may realize is an empath, or maybe you yourself are an empath, to support yourself and to go within and heal yourself. So I wish we had more people who were more empathetic, people who were more willing to activate the empathy within them. So it's just a process of opening your heart. Empathy is transformative. It closes divisions when we are more empathetic for one another. We understand one another. This is a feeling of what others are feeling. It strengthens our bond. Empathy, it enhances unity. It forces you to see the other person, like to truly see them, see what they're going through, understand and understand what they are experiencing. It requires a deeper connection and a unity amongst others. It's a heartfelt love. It's nurturing and it's caring for one another. You are healing together as a community with friends and lovers, and you're experiencing compassion. We are breeding more and more narcissists and less empaths, because where we're headed in this future, it doesn't look good. And we're becoming a society full of these big ass egos, as opposed to these big ass psychic empaths who are activating their psychic and their abilities where the narcissists are not blocking them. Because if you're blocking the empaths who have all these abilities that are activating, and something happens where there is a spiritual war, you think these narcissists are going to sit here and battle? Because they're only interested in themselves. They're only interested in saving themselves. It's like that, who was this preacher who led the people somewhere and was like, everybody drink this poison and then we're all going to die, or these preachers who are only interested in collecting money from you. But then what healing have you received? And you've gone to this church for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And then when you add up how much money you've given to the church, it could come up to thousands of dollars. And then, so what happens when you lose your apartment? What happens when you lose your job? Is that church going to house you? Are they going to give you money? Have they created a fund for you? And so we're feeding all these egos, and we won't be able to survive this way as a community. We just simply won't be able to survive as a community. So James said,
Exactly.
you have to ask yourself, how is this working for me? Is it a relationship or a job or of any situation? Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And I think we can, people who are more empathetic or consider themselves to be empaths, we have to create community for that, in which the more overpowering, controlling energies are just not accepted, are not revered, are not catered to. And let's create a community where kindness is a thing, where caring about each other is really a thing. And it may not be flashy, it may not make a lot of money, but it's going to give us all a much better future, I think.
Absolutely. And you have to be concerned about our future, because I know you guys see what's going on right now. I know you see the dynamics of what's going on, not only in America, but what's going on worldwide. And so we have to be concerned, genuinely concerned about how is this going to affect us and our children? And how is this going to affect the community in the future?
Mm-hmm.
So if you see that there's a level of imbalance, we have to figure out, how do we get balanced? How do we get balanced? Like, how do we go about that? And so it's so funny. Someone said to me, the narcissist must have some type of karma coming towards them for all of these crazy things that they're doing. And I don't know to that level, the karma. I mean, obviously they'll be getting karma for the, depending on what they're doing and how they're going about doing it. But I do know that if they have an empath and they've been benefiting from that empath, then the karma is losing that empath, losing access to that empath. Because you got to realize, if you're the empath, you're the talented one. You're the loving one. You're the one being sacrificed. They're sacrificing all of your energy, and they're the vampire sucking off of you. You're the one who's always giving. You are the valuable one. You are the gem. Okay? So you won't find another one like you. They won't find another one like you. So when you realize this, you won't even entertain going back. Because by the time you do the work within yourself with healing, it'll be too late for them to come back and ask you to come back. Because by then you'll healed, and you'll set standards, and you'll know your value, you know your worth, and then you'll be more successful on other areas in your life, because at that point you'll know it's their loss. You was willing to go above and beyond. You was ride or die, and you're like, I'm not doing this anymore because it's not healthy for me. And the narcissists, remember, they don't really have friends. Like, a lot of the people around them are also people who secretly hate them, but are also afraid of them. So they won't never say anything, but behind the scenes they be key, look at what's going on or whatever, and then they could be gossiping or whatever. So they genuinely really don't have a lot of friends around them, because they surround themselves with lots and lots and lots of energies and lots and lots and lots of people, but it's not really a lot of people who generally care about them and who really love them. So I want to say if you're not around a narcissist anymore, then that's a benefit to you. And so who really lost? The narcissist is the one who really lost, because they lost probably a person who was a good worker, or a good lover, or a great family member, or a great friend, or a great partnership. They lost that because narcissists really can't entertain a lot of people around them, or a lot of people can't entertain them to tolerate all of that bullshit they got going on with them, all of those demons. And I believe some of these narcissists have demons on them. That's what I believe. I literally believe that a lot of them have demons on them, and that the empaths, as they become more psychic and their psychic abilities begin to activate, I wouldn't be surprised if they could see those demons on them. That's what I think. I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah, it's a possibility for sure. I think it's you may be right. Um, I don't know about karma and stuff like that because you can't really judge so much. But I think the idea is to just whatever their karma is, leave it to them. It's not our business. Don't even think about that because that's also bringing in the energy.
Exactly. Amos says, it is rare to find one's affection well placed. It stands out.
Hmm.
It is rare and unique to find. When you find like a good person, man, guys, if you ever find a good friend, or a good coworker, or a good job, or a good lover, like, or even a really, really good person within your family, hold on to them and acknowledge them, because they are rare, few and far in between. Because, like I said, you have the narcissist and the empath, but there's something in between where the person in between is not necessarily one or the other. And they're kind of like swaying in between the two, but they don't mind what's going on here, and they're not going to stick up for the empath. And so that dynamics of this person in between, I'm a little bit concerned about that, because we have a lot of people that are here in between.
Yeah, um, I agree, and I think some of that comes from just being overwhelmed and lost. People are so overwhelmed with the survival. I just need a paycheck. I can't worry about this stuff. And there are a lot of people, I think, who don't have the attention for it. They just want to live their lives. They're not interested in having a big fancy name. They're not interested in necessarily being really sensitive, super sensitive. They just want to live. I think that these are all overall more balanced than either side. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with them. I think there's a lot of balance that could be found there. So if say a narcissist in the middle of the road, in that middle person, it can be very toxic. That person who's not super out of on either spectrum with a person who's empathic can also have a good combining in relationship because the person in the middle is more malleable. So if you find someone that's positive and they may not be engaged in life the same way that you are, but they could be very loving and giving and steady. I mean, that's how I perceive people who are more in the middle. They seem much more steady and not looking to make a big splash. And they can make good partnerships as well, people who are not either empath or narcissist, which I believe where most people are.
Yeah. You know what? I think you're right. I'm starting to look more at the dynamics of like people around me, and clients who call me, and, at work, and all of these friendships and everything. And I'm realizing, okay, so this is more of the narcissistic personality energy. This is more of an empath. And then this is more of like not either or. So it's like, are they more like just balanced, or do they take a role, especially when you see what's coming in the future,
Hmm.
what's coming in our society? You have those people in the middle who are kind of like, yeah, I just want to go to work, make my money, live my life, and I don't want to, entertain this or entertain that, at some point, I think this group of people here is going to be forced to take a stand, because we have the narcissists, is not many of them, because remember, they don't work together as a team. They may be bullying and pointing out, you do this, you do that, or whatever, controlling people. And then the empaths, remember, it's not many of them, but we need them to activate, because on the spiritual level, a lot of these people are psychic. And so if you have somebody who's bullying you and you're fearful of them, and how are your abilities are gonna activate if you're always walking around with anxiety and fear and stress, and you're not. And so we need, on a certain dynamic, certain people to activate so that we are prepared for what is coming. And so that means all these people that's wavering in the middle, where it's like, I don't know which way I'm gonna go. I'm not gonna go anywhere. I'm gonna just stay. I'm not gonna get involved. They're gonna be forced, I think. I see they're going to be forced to take a stand at some point. So
I think on some level that's entirely true, but I think also the people in the middle are the ones who are going to have a lot of the skills that everybody needs. They're going to be the doctors, they're going to be the engineers, they're going to be the truck drivers, they're going to be people who know how to build a house, they're going to people who know how to fix the electricity. So I think they just have a different focus. But you're right, there needs to be a more opening up and dialogue and communication, because even people who might not consider themselves empaths can learn to have more empathy, can learn to be, to not dismiss things so quickly, can say, well, maybe that empath has something that they're saying that makes sense. Maybe I should listen to that.
Yes.
And so I think because we're living in a society that will encourage them to go to the narcissistic side.
There you go.
So if we can create a dynamic where where it's possible to have cooperation, is not to say one, the empath is better than the person who's not empathic. If the non-empathic person is decent and caring and loving, we could work with that. And because it's very stabilizing, I think empaths tend to be less stable. There's a little bit of instability there because you're just taking in too much. So you're just kind of waving and, oh, this is happening, that's happening. I'm absorbing all this energy. But what the empath, because the empaths do represent a lot of light, more light in them. The idea is not to let people take your light,
Right.
is to nurture it. But then you become more like a light bulb and you can reflect that light out without being harmed, because it's part of your path and your mission. So if we think of our energy that way, it can be very positive to have that kind of inner sensitivity, because if we can protect ourselves, then we really can be of help to somebody else.
Go
And I think that's true of all of us. Like you said, everything's on a spectrum.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Go in, activate that light, and shine bright. So I just started scrolling the contact information at the bottom. Guys, Catherine's Davis email is there, heartofmindradio@gmail.com. And of course, my email is info@journeytobliss. And we may do a show on spiritual warfare. I think that would be pretty interesting. So to kind of provide some sort of guidance for you guys moving forward for what's coming. And I feel like it's going to be more than one battle going on. I feel like it's going to be a dynamic of a economic battle, spiritual warfare. I'm feeling like maybe there may be some sort of physical battle. I don't know if it's like a civil war or if it'll be more like multiple riots, and I don't know. But I also feel sort of like there's a dynamic of the earth getting tired and starting to activate also, which would affect us in a way also. But, if you're doing the work and you're going within, or if you're working with someone who's doing the work and going within, as a team, then we address these coming situations with some type of clarity and guidance. But if you are all divided, which is sort of the narcissistic way, is to kind of divide us and keep us separate and angry and, not working together, then how will you know how to be prepared for what's coming? So if you are more working with your heart, and even if you're not empathic to the level of another person, because there's levels to this, but you are interested in saying, what, we as a community need to stand together and be prepared, because this involves our protection, our family's protection, and our children's protection. If this economy crash and a dollar crash and there's no food, and the farms are not delivering any food to the stores, and then there's a blackout on top of that, and then you got tsunamis coming from everywhere. What if you knew these things were coming? But if you're busy allowing these other people, change the narrative and distract us and keep us focused on, women are all bad and they're all like, looking for money, and then men are all abusive and they're all beating on their women. And this is a dynamic that's designed to keep us divided as opposed to united. And so both men and women can be empathic, and both men and women can be narcissistic, but we have to learn to utilize these things as tools to prepare us for what's coming, as opposed to keeping us divided as a community.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to close on that. So Catherine, do you want to say anything in closing?
Well, I would say stay tuned, more coming. And I would invite people to tune into radio. Heart of Mind is on WBAI in New York, and people can find me there.
So it's WBAI. So if you guys, you can tune in on the radio there at WBAI, Heart of Mind. And then that's when you can hear some other exciting talks with Catherine.
Okay, great. And that's 99.5 FM.
Oh, hold on. 99.5 FM.
Mm-hmm. It's a great station of it's listener supported, so it's not a commercial radio station, so that we can be fairly radical over there.
Yes! 99.5 family. So WBAI 99.5. Fairly radical. Get ready for the battle. Say whatever you want to say. Y'all know we restricted over here on YouTube. So Miss Bliss I'll be trying to slip some things in for y'all without getting in trouble. So we just keep it a little clean here. But yeah. Is straight to the cut at WBAI 99.5 FM, and we get down to business over there. Mm-hmm. So family, thank you for coming out. Thank you for joining us tonight. I appreciate you. Mwah. I love you. Thank you for even entertaining this talk and for even listening. And I wish you all a beautiful night and a wonderful rest of the week. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.